Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we talk about all things financial literacy. And today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the steps to forming an LLC in the state of Texas. And this video is going to be broken down into 4 easy steps. I'll also be taking you over to the Secretary of State website for Texas, and then we'll walk through the entire process when it comes to setting up your LLC. Now, the reason I'm looking at Texas specifically is because I went through my demographic information, specifically the geographic location, and I saw that I had a large audience that is in Texas. I'll probably be going through the top 5 states for the viewers on this channel over the next few days, and I'll show you each how to set up your respective LLC in the state that you reside. And a majority of this information will probably be similar, but there will be some differences that are based on your state. All right. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, here is the overview that we're going to be discussing for today. First thing we're going to be doing is choosing your name, which sounds like it's very, simple, but there is some information that we do need to address. The next thing is to find a resident agent. We'll be talking about that. Also, obtaining your EIN. And last, we'll be talking about filing that LLC in the state of Texas. So the first thing that we're going to do is choose our business name. Now, naming issues are the primary cause of LLC filing rejections in the state of Texas. So I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on that in this video. You really want to make sure that the name ends with LLC, LTD, Co, or LC. You don't want to use things like incorporated or things that would suggest that you are another type of entity than LLC. All right. If not, then you want to file as a corporation, but we're just focusing on LLC right now. You want to avoid names that imply high risk industries such as banking, gambling, insurance, or any other business that requires a special license. You want to make sure that the name is available through the Texas Business Name Search portal online. I'll also be showing you that in the video. And you can also call this number. It's 512-463-5555 once you can confirm the availability of that name. And then you want to secure your domain. Now, for your domain, that's going to be your website. I have a link in the description to HostGator. You can actually use that to get your domain name and start your business website. This is a big part of structuring your business. I also have some videos that go over that if you want to watch that after this video. All right, so there are a few more things that I want to get into when it comes to choosing your business name. The next thing is that you want to try not to use purely functional or generic business names. While names like ABC Marketing or XYZ Dealership, they may describe your business perfectly and what you do. They lack personality and they'll be hard for people to remember. You want to choose a name that distinguishes your business from others and grabs attention of your audience if you want to break through. Okay, you cannot afford to have a mediocre name. You also want to avoid short-term trends. Trends always change. You don't want to focus on that. Your name should not be anything that does not have longevity. You want to always do something that, will actually stand the test of time, something evergreen that will ensure that your business can stay relevant for a long time. You want to also stay away from complex names. If your business name causes confusion or people mispronounce it, the name consistently will not be able to get established. It just won't be good for marketing, and it won't be good for branding either. It's just going to make it very difficult for your business to actually move forward. So make it a very straightforward name that's easy to understand, that's not going to be trendy, that will apply with whatever your business objectives are. I would also, this being in the state of Texas, I do understand that, but if you ever want to have a national brand, you don't want to tie a specific name to your location. If a business name is tied to your geographic location, you'll never be able to stand out from any competition. In addition, it's gonna only be location specific. You want to make sure that it can branch out. And while there are some big industries that do have like their state or something in the name, if we're talking about, trying to become a nationally recognized brand, for the most part, you don't want to limit what your potential can be, especially in the beginning. And I would refrain from using your personal name. A founder-based name, it sometimes can be very problematic. If it's your personal brand, maybe, but usually the name isn't big enough to pull in an audience. If it's not that, I don't suggest using that. I always suggest using something else, other than that. And you can also Google these things just to make sure that someone else isn't also using that name. It just makes it less likely to attract customers to whatever it is that you're trying to sell. And I would stay away from controversial language. I think that goes without saying, but I would never try to create friction more than necessary. I know we live in a time and an age where, friction sells. There's a lot of things that if it's derogatory, if it's vulgar, but I think the focal point of your business should not be in controversy. You shouldn't try to alienate or offend people just to cause conflict. Not all press is good press, despite what anybody thinks. And in addition, there are some words that are not allowed in business names. Like I've been saying, you're going to see there are a lot of rejections in Texas based on the name. Usually it's availability, but you don't want to have your business rejected from loans, applications, things like that, simply because of a name. So those are just a few things I wanted to go over when it comes to choosing a name. It does seem like one of the smallest, most insignificant things, but can actually be one of the most impactful things when it comes to creating a business. Now, you do want to find a registered agent. So this will be the person that's going to receive important legal documents such as government notices or legal actions against your business. If you work at a business address, which can be your home, you can even use the virtual if you have a virtual office, that can actually be available between Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then you can act as your business's registered agent. Keep in mind, this is very, very important. Remember, the name and address will become public record. So what I'm saying is, if you use your home address for your business, I can go to the Secretary of State of Texas, I can look up your business just based off of the name, and I can find where you live. If you do not want people to have your address, you do not want to put your physical address as a registered agent address. Okay. Just keep that in mind. I want to say that sometimes people are unaware. If you are aware, then just, let's make sure that we're being safe. But you can definitely be your own registered agent. You don't need to appoint someone. And if you would like to, there are a lot of resources that you can use to find registered agents to collect this information on your behalf. Obtaining an EIN. And I have specific videos that go over this. And I actually have one that I have not released yet that will go into great detail about this. But for now, an EIN just refers to a unique identifier that's assigned to a business. EINs are commonly used by employers for the purposes of reporting taxes. Businesses can apply for EINs directly through the IRS website, which normally is available immediately. Now, for a second, let's break from this. I'm going to go to the IRS website. I just want to show you exactly how you can find this information. Currently, we are on irs.gov. You can type that into Google search. You will find this, and it's very easy for you to obtain your EIN, and it is free. You should never pay for an EIN number. So when you get to the homepage, should look like this. And at the time of recording, I've done this a few years. It's pretty much the same setup. But when you come to the home screen, you'll want to look for apply for an employer ID number, EIN. Just click on that. Normally, I would walk you through the entire process of this. However, today is Sunday. This is only available Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. So unfortunately, while I can't show you exactly what the steps of what happens, it's a pretty straightforward process. Go to apply online now. It's going to ask you for your type of business structure. You're going to choose LLC, domestic, and then unless you're a foreign, but more than likely you're going to pick domestic. And then you're going to fill out all the information. I suggest always getting your EIN first before you actually file for your LLC, simply because when you get the EIN, it's going to ask you for your business address. I recommend using a virtual address. I have a video on that talks about the difference between a virtual mailbox and a virtual office, depending on what you're trying to do. I highly recommend that you consider looking into getting a virtual office for yourself. Again, I have a video. You can check that out. It goes through all of the virtual offices that I've had personally and that I would recommend that you use. I give you the pros, I give you the cons, make a decision on that. Get that, and then come here and apply for your EIN. That way, the address on your EIN letter that you're going to get online once you're done, because you're going to need this for business documentation. You want all this information to match. You're going to get that so that it matches, and then you're going to also put this same information when you do your registered agent application, where you fill out all that information, especially if you are your own registered agent. So you'll want to put that information there. Okay. And then that's going to be the address that will be associated with all of your documentation. All right. Let's move on. All right, so we are on the last step. I'm going to show you how to file your articles of organization. An article of organization is required by the state of Texas to create an LLC and contains information regarding the business. This is going to list the business name, the type of business, the members, and the purpose of your business. It can also be used in creating your company's bylaws. Now, to file, you have to complete Form 205 plus a fee of $300. If you are out of state, you'll have to file a Form 304 plus a fee of $750. Now, before we go there and I'll show you how to file, I do want to give a bonus for anyone who is a veteran. If you are a veteran, you actually may be able to file for free. So let's go over and take a look at that before we actually go to the Secretary of State website. So all qualified veterans will receive a veteran verification letter, and you're going to get this from the TVC Veteran Entrepreneur Program. That's going to be waiving the $300 registration fee with the Secretary of State the first 5 years of state franchise tax, with step-by-step instructions on processing their documents with the Secretary of State. If you're looking for the Veteran Verification Letter, also known as a VVL, then you can get more information by going here. And I'm going to probably link this in the description as well. But this is the Texas Veterans Commission website. Okay. And if you want more details about this, I can make a separate video for it. But I believe it's very straightforward when you're looking at joining this program. So if you are a veteran and you live in the state of Texas, highly consider checking that out so that you can get those filing fees waived and you can file your business for free. Okay. SOS Direct, the Texas Secretary of State. This is where you're going to want to go in order to file your LLC. So now we are on the Texas Secretary of State website. You'll want to find right here where it says, if you do not currently have an account, you may submit a request for SOS Direct account. So let's click on that. And when you do, it's going to have you do two things. It's going to have you type in your business name, type in your last name, your first name, and then you'll continue. So start by doing that. Now, I do want to note, just because you typed in your business name, it does not mean that that name is available. You will have to double check that. I'll show you when we get to that step how you would actually go about doing it. But type in the business name that you want, and then later on, we'll take a look and see if that business name is available. I do highly recommend that you already do this prior to doing everything else, because remember, when we do our EIN, we have to type in our business name. You want to make sure that that's available. Okay, there is a Texas portal where you can do this, but let's create the account very quickly and then we'll go about doing that as well. Now, after you enter that information, it's going to ask you to enter your address, your phone number, your email, and for you to create a new password. So that'll be the next step. Now, after you filled in your address, first name, last name, your email address, you'll be met with this screen. And this screen is going to be asking you to enter your credit card or debit card information. Now, you will have to do this in order to proceed. When you do file for the LLC, they're going to charge this card in order for you to be able to file. So they will not be asking you for your credit card or debit card information going forward. You're going to put it in here. And then once that happens, you'll be using that to actually pay. You will have to enter this information when you sign in again, but we'll get to that step next. Now, you'll want to enter the card information, the business name, last name, first name, your address. Now, you are not required to fund your account in order to use SOS Direct, but you are required to provide credit card or debit card information for verification and security purposes. Payment methods of SOS Direct include credit card, legal ease, and client account. Client accounts may be funded or may have a deficient balance for certain services. In order to use a client account as a payment method for a filing submitted over the web, the client account must be funded and have a positive balance sufficient to cover all filing fees. Orders and copies can be processed against a client account without initial funding. Fill out this information. You'll hit continue. Now, once completed, you'll receive an email like this. Welcome to SOS Direct. It's going to give you a user ID. You're going to sign in using your user ID and your password. So if you want, then you can click on this link. If you would like to proceed to SOS Direct, please log in click on that. You'll be brought back to the home screen of the Secretary of State website where you will enter in your user ID and the password that you created. All right, we're back on the Secretary of State website. So let's go into where it says SOS Direct username and password. We're going to enter our information and we're going to get logged in now. Now, for verification purposes, it should have asked you to enter your card information again. You'll want to look for business organizations. You'll want to click on that. And this is where you're going to end up, the business organizations menu. Now that you're here, the thing that I would suggest that you do is come right here where it says reservation formation, registration documents. You want to click here and you want to go to domestic liability, domestic limited liability company, LLC. And domestic unless you're foreign, but for most of us, we should be domestic. We're in the United States. And then we want to click on file document. Now on the next screen, it's going to ask for the filing type. And then we're going to do the certificate of formation. That's what we're going to be filing. And then we're going to click continue. Now here's where we're going to verify that your name is available. So limited liability company. The name of the limited liability company is as set forth below. Now we're going to type in our name and we're going to see if that name is available. So I'm just going to type in something simple, LLC, something simple, right? So let's check the name availability search. So when I check the name availability search, I don't see that the name was actually found. So it shows up here, the search was performed with the following search parameters: entity name, Stephen New Business, LLC. Now, these are all the other filings and names. As you can see, there are a lot of records. They're showing that they are in use or they're in existence. If you see that and it matches your name, that means that you cannot use it. Okay. Now let's go back to the filing. And it says if option 1 is selected, the name of the entity must contain the word limited liability company or limited company or an accepted abbreviation of such terms. You have to make sure that that is there. If option 2 is selected, the name of the entity must contain the words professional limited liability company or an accepted abbreviation of such term. The name must not be the same as, deceptively similar to, or similar to that of an existing limited liability company or limited partnership name on file with the Secretary of State. So you cannot have a name that's very similar to another one. Again, this is the number one reason why your business can be rejected. And it's very important to make sure that we do all of this research first, because we already got our EIN number. We already did a lot of other things. We want to make sure that this is all done correctly, so that way we don't have any issues. So it says, thank you for conducting a preliminary search. A final determination of the availability of this name will be made by an SOS employee when the document is submitted for filing. So just because you've gotten through the entire filing process, if that name is not available, they will let you know later. So just be aware that just because you put that name in and maybe you didn't find it, that does not mean that you will be able to get that name. Even if it's similar to someone's name, you can be rejected. Keep that in mind. I think the best thing to do is for you to call that number that we talked about. You can verify that way. If you do it early in the morning, it shouldn't take you more than a few minutes to speak with someone. Verify that that name is available, and then go ahead and start the filing. That way you can do it with confidence, knowing that there should be no issues. All right, let's hit continue. Now we have the initial mailing address. This is going to be the same one that we talked about. Highly recommend getting a virtual address, or if you don't, you can hire a registered agent, but I don't suggest using your personal information here and using your personal address. Okay. Now the next step is going to be Article 2, registered agent and office. This is going to be the business name, last name, first name, middle name. So just enter all the information that you previously input, but then you're going to have a consent attached here. So you can consent on file with entity, and then the organization filing the document may not be designated to serve as its own registered agent. The registered agent can be either an individual resident of the state of an organization as permitted by law applicable to the entity filing the document. If an organization name is entered, do not enter the name of an individual. The person named as the registered agent must have consented in a written or electronic form. So if you don't want to write it out, you can do it electronically. To serve as the registered agent for the entity, failure to obtain that consent may result in civil and/or criminal penalties. The registered office agent must be a street or building address. A post office box is not sufficient as the registered office address. Okay. Right. And the last thing to note is that you shouldn't be using a professional designation such as MD, DDS. Those do not need to be added. You can add a prefix. You can add a suffix to distinguish one individual from another. For example, a junior, a senior, the third, etc. So with all that being said, go ahead, fill that information out, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Now on the next screen is going to be the consent of registered agent. If you want to include a copy of the registered agent's consent, please follow the instructions shown below. If not, you can hit continue to bypass this option. So I'm just going to click continue. Now this is Article 3. This is the governing authority management type. So you can select the limited liability company is to be managed by managers. The names and addresses of the initial managers are set forth below. And you can also select the limited liability company will not have managers. Management of the company is reserved to the members. The name and addresses of the initial members are set forth below. So choose the option that is applicable to you. You can then add the members and manage those. And once that information has been added, you will see it here. Make sure that if your LLC has additional managers or members, you add everyone's name on there. Anyone who is a manager or a member of this LLC needs to be added to this article. Okay. On the next step, we're going to be adding supplemental provisions and information. So here's a reminder. A document filed with the Secretary of State is public record. The document and the information provided in the document will be available online through SOS Direct for public viewing. Do not include confidential information such as your social security number within a document attached. Use a business address rather than a residential address if privacy issues are a concern, which we already talked about, so we already know. And if we're not going to be adding any additional information, then we can just hit continue, which will bring us to this next screen, organizer. The name and address of the organizers are set forth. Now, once you've added the organizer information, which if it's a one-member LLC, again, all this information is probably you, and you're going to do the signature of organizer. So the undersign affirms that the person designated as the registered agent has consented to the appointment. The undersigner signs this document subject to the penalties imposed by law for the submission of a maternally false or fraudulent instrument and certifies under penalty of perjury that the undersigner is authorized under the provisions of law governing the entity to execute the filing instrument. So this document will become effective when the document is processed by the Secretary of State. If delayed effective date is entered, the document will become effective at the later date, which may not be more than 90 days from the date it is processed by the Secretary of State. So if there's 90 days out from the time that they actually file this, you can set forth that date if you needed some time in order for this to be filed for whatever reason that you may want it to be delayed. If not, then you can click continue. Now, when you get to the very end, this is what you're going to be met with. Please review the document displayed for accuracy. If corrections must be made, press Edit Filing. When complete, press Submit Filing. Submitting this filing will be $300, right? So we already knew what the fee was going to actually be. There's also a 2.7% fee charged if you pay this with a credit card. So keep that in mind as well. So Article 1, your entity name. It's going to be Stephen New Business LLC. That's going to be a limited liability company. And then the Article 2, the registered agent and registered office. And then the initial registered agent is an organization, cannot be company name above by the name of, and then that's where you would have that information. Now B, since we're not doing that, it's going to be my name with my business address, not my personal address, hopefully. And then any other information that we have here, we have the consent of the registered agent. We did it online electronically. We didn't do the make a copy of it, but you would add it there and you would add the consent of being the registered agent if you have a copy that you want to upload. The consent of the registered agent is maintained by the entity. If that's, the way that you chose to file, that's how I did it. You can just do this option, which will be B. Article 3 is the governing authority, and that's going to be B, or you can pick A. It all depends on exactly what you're doing, but A was the limited liability company is to be managed by managers, or B, the limited liability company will not have managers. Management of this company is reserved to the members. If you are a one member LLC, choose that option, and that's name, managing member, and then the street address. Organizer, the name and address of the organizers are set forth below. That's where I added my name and hopefully your business address. And then this document becomes effective when the document is filed by the Secretary of State. That's where you chose the effectiveness of filing. So execution. The undersigner affirms that the person designated as the registered agent has consented, and then that's my consent. And if I found all this information to be correct after looking at it again, I would then go ahead and submit the filing, which would charge my card the $300. Make sure that everything is good. There's no going back once you do this, or you'll have to you can file an amendment, but to avoid all of that extra work, make sure that everything is good. And that is it. That is how you do your LLC filing in the state of Texas. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to have additional content about structuring your business, I recommend that you watch my business videos on business structure and then how to get business credit. I'm going to link those here. Then there's also additional resources on, creating your website for free. I have a video on that, creating your Google business profile. All of that information is on this channel if you want to take that next step after you filed your LLC to then go ahead and actually start getting funding for your business. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a wonderful day.